Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and welcome to the final episode, part 6 of our New Year's Eve lesser-known Lost Media Marathon. In this segment, we will be covering episodes 26 through 30, so let's get started. At number 1, we have The Addams Family Funhouse, a lost, unsold ABC pilot from 1973. Now, most of you probably know what the Addams Family is. Whether you read the original New Yorker comic strips, watched the old black and white TV series, watched my personal favorite, The Addams Family movie and The Addams Family Values, or perhaps the later animated series, animated movies, TV made-for-TV movies, or if you just recently found out about them because of Wednesday, The Addams Family is an institution of pop culture. As such, ever since the original black and white TV show caused them to take off, there have been many attempts to recapture that lightning in the bottle, some with more success than others. One of these attempts, The Addams Family Funhouse, is a 1973 unsold pilot that was aired on various channels during the 1973 and 1974 television season. It was a variety series and included musical numbers as well as skits. One blogger remembers a dance party sequence that he states are similar to a laugh-in sequence. He also states that the dancing is interrupted for one-liners. All that has surfaced of this pilot, however, is a single publicity photo published in Castle of Frankenstein magazine, issue 21. We do also know the cast list. It was Jackie Riley as Gomez Addams, Liz Torres as Morticia Addams, Butch Patrick as Pugsley Adam, you might know Butch Patrick as Eddie Munster, the original, Stubby K as Fester Adams, Noel Von Son as Wednesday Adams, Felix Silla as Cousin It, Pat McCormick as Lurch, and Jim Neighbors as himself. And you might recognize that name too, because that's Gomer Pyle. Now, honestly, just looking at this publicity photo, you can kind of see why this one never took off. This does not look like the Addams Family. This looks like some dollar store overseas knockoff of the Addams Family rather than the Addams Family we all know and love. So, while it would be fun to have another piece of Addams Family content available to us, I'm not surprised this one kind of fell through the cracks. At number 2, we have 911 Entertainment, partially lost enhanced CD videos and material from the multimedia company from 1997 to 1998. So, 911 Entertainment was an independent multimedia record distribution company that operated from the late summer of 1996 to early 1999 in the San Francisco Bay Area. They were well known for operating their own website, which contained Our Tribe, a website that displayed lots of multimedia entertainment, which included an interactive community, the Worldwide Internet Music Archive for an online tour guide to live music, Warped World for punk rock, Vans Warped Tour and extreme sports, and Big Top Tour, which focused on electronic music. Over at the music side, the company had 3 music labels, 911 Records, Long Arm Records, and 4DAT. 911 Records, which focused heavily on the alternative rock scene, signed bands like Marshall Coleman, Crushed, Stickman, Ultra Horse, and plenty of others around the time frame the company opened its doors in 1996. Now, as for the lost media part of this, a year after the company's global launch and their website debut, they created websites for bands that they signed. The websites would include tour dates, interviews, audio and video files, biographies, and photo galleries for the flagship brands. Sadly, the only remaining material available are music videos from 3 bands, Marshall Coleman, Crushed, and Shelley Streeter. They are available on YouTube and the Internet Archive. The other material that contained everything from 911 Entertainment's websites remains lost to this day. Any attempts to get any files from the main website around early 1997 have failed, as the video files and other material would be in an RPM or RAM, Real Audio Media format, which, unfortunately, if downloaded, it would display an error message stating that the file is corrupted. Once entered on the company's main website around that time frame, it would automatically download an RPM file from one of Marshall Coleman's materials. The site also contained a 24-hour live feed of interviews, music videos, animations, and eye candy. While bits and pieces of this have surfaced over the years, there is still a ton that has not surfaced in over 2 decades. I think this is interesting because, back in the 90s and even early 2000s, there was so many interactive websites that were such a big deal. One interactive website that always comes to mind when I think of this stuff is whenever a new Grand Theft Auto game would come out, is they would have these interactive websites that would constantly update, giving you a little bit more information about the game. And stuff like that, they don't do it much anymore, but it's kind of interesting to think that, I did not know about 911 Entertainment back in the day, but thinking that there are probably a lot of fans who would go to this site almost daily, and just knowing that all of that stuff that they enjoyed is gone is definitely, I think that kind of lost media is very interesting, and that hopefully somebody, even in the early stages of the internet, found a way to document it and thought to document it, and maybe someday we'll see all this stuff. Alright guys, at number 3 we have our fan submitted entry. Today's fan submission comes from Simon John 2750 and is Tiffany Blake, a lost DiC animated series, existence unconfirmed, from 1987. So Tiffany Blake is a rumored lost animated series that was known to be developed by animation company DiC for 1987 in partnership with KKC&D Asia. There is not much information on the series besides online searches for the title would return info on a pornographic actress by the same name. So I guess careful when you research this one if you're trying to find it. The series was first described in a December 1986 LA Times news article, later re-released in the February 1st, 1987 issue of the Milwaukee Journal with the title Rich Role Models, about DiC's fall 1987 animated TV package. A 1986 article describes the show as an action-adventure series that follows the lives of the internationally acclaimed high fashion model Tiffany Blake and her double agent friends. The title character was described as a female James Bond character who uses her day job as a glamorous fashion model as a cover for her daring espionage activity. She also has double secret agent friends called Cretan and Natasha. The show was to be part of DiC's Fall 87 package, which also included Beverly Hills Teens and STARCOM, the U.S. Space Force. Both series are known to fully exist. The producers of the series were looking to provide wholesome role models for kids. Rich Colbert, who was president of Access Syndicate, which ceased to exist by 1988, described the Tiffany Blake spy model character as no bimbo. As to whether this is available somewhere, well, it's quite likely that Tiffany Blake may never have made it to final production and/or release. No screenshots or footage from the series have been released online. Only a promotional art poster seems to be available. However, Japanese studio Mook Animation is reported to have worked on a Tiffany Blake promotional film, which was listed on their website, so maybe there is at least something of this out there. I mean, between the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, just the sheer amount of flash-in-the-pan cartoons that we got, I wonder how many more that we never even got to hear about before they were quietly canceled. I mean, I bet there are hundreds of cartoons that maybe didn't even make it past the pitch stage. Coming in at number 4, we have the untitled Donkey Kong game, a lost build of a cancelled SNES CD and CDI platformer whose existence is unconfirmed, circa 1992 to 1993. So yeah, you've probably heard about Donkey Kong. Published by Nintendo in 1981, Donkey Kong is one of the most iconic video games of all time. It was the first appearance of the company's mascot Mario, launched the long-running Donkey Kong series, and was their first commercial hit in North America, launching Nintendo into a massive video game company they still are to this day. Due to the iconicity and legacy of the game, it had 3 direct sequels over the years, those being Donkey Kong Jr., Donkey Kong 3, and Donkey Kong for the Game Boy, alternatively known as Donkey Kong 94. Before the Game Boy games released, there were murmurings of a sequel for the Super NES CD-ROM system and the Philips CDI. Rumors of this sequel first appeared in Gaming Gossip section of Electronic Gaming Monthly issue 31 in November 1992. According to the anonymous writer of the newsletter, Quarterman, the game would be a 16-bit remake of the Donkey Kong arcade game for the SNES, which would mark Mario's return to his role as the protagonist of the series, as well as feature improved graphics and new scenes, and would release sometime in 1992. Now, over 1 year later, in issue 47 on June 1993, Quarterman would amend this statement, saying that the game was a sequel and would release on the Nintendo's ill-fated SNES peripheral, the SNES CD, as well as the console, the Philips CDI. If these rumors were true, the game would likely be developed as two separate versions, one for the SNES CD and one for the CDI due to their hardware differences. According to former Electronic Gaming Monthly editors, Quarterman's newsletter was a mix of legitimate rumors, wishful thinking, and complete fabrications, leaving the validity of these rumors up in the air. Lending credence to the game's existence, however, is a LinkedIn profile for one Adrian Jackson Jones. The profile claims that he worked at RSP as their Super Nintendo and CDI programmer, with one of the games he worked on being Donkey Kong for the CDI, with him specifically working on designing and implementing the game's engine. Donkey Kong also appeared in a CDI print ad alongside Mario, Link, and Zelda, despite not appearing in any games released for that console. It is speculated this title could be correlated to Super Donkey, a found prototype that was released during the Nintendo Giga Leak of July 2020. From what is inferred in the leaked data, Super Donkey was being developed during 1990 and 1992, around the same time Quarterman claimed there was a new SNES Donkey Kong. It is possible it could be the SNES Donkey Kong game Quarterman was referring to being moved to the SNES CD and Philips CDI before its cancellation. It seems to be a big thing nowadays that you're going to re-release or remaster a game. Like, I know at the time I'm recording this, Super Mario RPG was just remade for the Nintendo Switch. I've not played it yet, but I do intend to. I could just go out right now and buy it, but I'm in this weird period of time where, so essentially from September through February of every year, I'm in what I like to call the slog, which is where all of my family and loved ones' birthdays fall in that time, as well as Christmas and Valentine's Day and all that. But the fun part is that from December through March, it does benefit me a little bit because I got Christmas. I've got, well, technically now it kind of starts in October now that I'm married because my anniversary is in October, so I'll get a gift then. Christmas, Valentine's Day, and then my birthday in March. So I tend not to buy myself anything in that period of time because it just makes it easier for people to buy me a gift. So, I'm hoping at some point between now and March somebody buys me that, but not the point. The point is that we think that this is like a recent thing, kind of like how Disney's remaking all their movies in quote-unquote live action, but remakes and ports are not new. They have been around since video games have been around, and it's not... I definitely believe that at some point they were like, yeah, let's bring Donkey Kong to the SNES and the new CD systems, and it didn't work out, but I completely believe that at least some kind of prototype build, even just promotional materials or pitch ideas, some work was done on this game. I completely believe that it was real, and maybe we will see more of it in the future. And at number 5, we have Happy Days. No, not that Happy Days. No, these Happy Days are lost, unreleased, fabricated pornographic films of an Indonesian president. Existence is unconfirmed, circa 1960s. So in the 1960s, the first president of Indonesia, Sukarno, also known as Sukarno due to some spelling mistake, well, he was the first president of Indonesia, and the CIA was trying to overthrow him because of his closeness to the Soviet Union. So both the CIA and the Soviet KGB had discontented and vexed feelings towards this guy because of his behavior, governance, and his attitude. It wasn't pleasing to either the West or the Soviets, even though apparently a huge majority of Indonesians being communists at the time, the Soviets and Sukarno, still in various degrees, didn't see eye to eye with each other, because it wasn't enough to just be a communist. For Russia to like you, you had to be a Soviet communist. So the KGB had tried to, get on his good side, get him to join their Soviet alliance, but all these attempts failed. So this would cause the Soviet KGB to plan to blackmail him by making and fabricating pornographic films starring him, all due to him not wanting to side with the Soviet Union. The KGB blackmailed him by filming him with a flight attendant during his visit to Moscow in 1960 to discredit his image in front of the Indonesians and foment a revolt. When the Russians confronted him about the sex tape, he asked to watch it and was surprisingly pleased with the tape. He even asked for additional copies of the sex tape and to show it back in his country. I mean, hey, this guy must have had some moves, I guess. Now, when the CIA heard that the Russians were trying to bring him down with pornographic films, they also went ahead and made pornographic films of him. The CIA manipulated photos of Sukarno and a Soviet flight attendant to tarnish his image. The idea that for the pornographic video came from a flight attendant who boarded a plane with him on his way to the Soviet Union. The CIA reported that Sukarno was involved in a scandal with a flight attendant who was an intelligence agent. They eventually produced their own pornographic film, paying actors with face masks similar to Sukarno, who were imported from Indonesia. What the fuck? So apparently the film was made for the CIA by former FBI agents Robert Mayhew and Howard Hughes. I don't think that's the Howard Hughes from The Aviator. But while Mayhew had no experience with any making of pornographic films or filmography, he apparently knew an actor named Chuck Case that resembled but was not identical to Sukarno, and that with help from a makeup artist, Bing Cosby, this actor was set to play him in the film. It's rumored that while the film was never released, it is reported that images of the film have resurfaced in numerous publications from the 70s, though it remains unclear. Also, it supposedly would have been called Happy Days, but that's not entirely confirmed either. And apparently, ultimately, the whole reason this was not used to blackmail him is because they did show it to a couple people, and the Indonesian response was actually very positive. They're like, hey, yeah, President, get you some. And it wouldn't have had a negative effect on his reputation. And so apparently everything I just told you is can put a big allegedly on it, because Sukarno was ousted from the presidency in 1967 and passed away 3 years later on June 1st of 1970. And while there has been a lot of talk about these films, none of the information about them has ever been confirmed. I think it's hilarious how far we have come as a world where, back in the day, a video of two people who aren't married having consensual sex could be considered career-ending. And nowadays it's like, look, as long as both parties are consenting, who cares? We have come a long way from the prudes we were back in the 50s and 60s. I also love the idea of a world leader being blackmailed by America and the Soviets during the Cold War, and they're like, hey, if you don't, Russia comes and goes, hey, if you don't do what we say, we'll release this tape of you having sex with a flight attendant. And he's like, please do. Please do. I want everyone to see how awesome I am. And then the US, who knows what they knew? I mean, I'm sure they knew all of that if it was true. They had spies everywhere. But they were like, oh, well, we'll make a fake tape of him having sex with a flight attendant. And it's like, wait, you can't eat... What? Apparently this guy... No. I just think it's hilarious that the US was like, they looked at what the KGB had done and failed at doing and went, hey, we're going to do this, but we're going to do it worse. I don't know. The Cold War was a crazy time. I mean, they literally thought they could design a bomb that would make all the soldiers super gay balls for each other. So, they were just trying everything, and they were throwing science and espionage at a wall and seeing what stuck. Our first piece today is I Really Like You, a lost, unreleased political campaign video from 2015. In the lead-up to the 2015 UK general election, Liberal Democrat leader Nick Clegg started a campaign video emulating the music video to Carly Rae Jepsen's 2015 release, I Really Like You. The campaign film has never released. Now, the Liberal Democrats entered the 2015 general campaign election in a pretty poor electoral shape, polling at single figures, having suffered a steady decline in popularity since entering into the coalition with the Conservative Party after a historically successful campaign in the 2010 general election. Finding itself in a quote-unquote survival election, the Liberal Democrats struggled to present a compelling message. Liberal Democrat leader Nick Clegg found himself in a similar position to his party. Whereas the 2010 election had been marked by Clegg-mania, by 2015 Clegg was a distinctly unpopular leader, with some incumbent Liberal Democrat MPs rejecting his offers for a campaign visit. It was in these difficult circumstances that the party would try to find new ways to sell itself to a skeptical public. Looking for a way to demonstrate that the party was fun, the Liberal Democrats would commission London-based production company Create Productions Limited to create a remake of Carly Rae Jepsen's I Really Like You music video starring Nick Clegg. Clegg would play the role of Tom Hanks, interacting with various members of the public, with the party hoping that the video would be a way for the leader to go viral. Filming would take place in Gravesend, Kent on March 19th of 2015. The same day, Danny Alexander unveiled the Liberal Democrats' pre-election budget. Alongside Clegg, the commercial would feature various dancers, reportedly all from the Central Liberal Democrat headquarters, wearing yellow Liberal Democrat t-shirts, and various extras comprised of a mix of local party activists and production assistants from Create. Owing to published accounts and leaked material, many of the shots featured in the video have been detailed. The video maintained the original song without alterations and was described by a production insider as not quite shot for shot, but a decent attempt at a remake. It maintained elements from the Carly Rae Jepsen original, such as a shot of Clegg walking past three women swiping right on his Tinder profile. Other scenes known to have been shot include Clegg signing a table tennis bat and hitting a ping pong ball, being interviewed by a reporter, posing for selfies, walking past dancers, and a yellow Mini, high-fiving an extra and embracing two extras while waving. So why was this never aired? Although Clegg reportedly seemed very enthusiastic about his role and really got into it while filming, he would quickly change his mind, with the Times reporting that upon ending filming, he would comment, "Why the fuck did I do that?" Clegg's feelings about the video were shared by the wider party, with insiders concluding the video made no sense. They would ultimately decide not to use the video, with the staff sworn to secrecy about its existence. The Liberal Democrats would suffer a historic loss in the 2015 election, losing 49 of their 57 seats. Clegg would subsequently resign as the leader of the Liberal Democrats. Knowledge of the video's existence would reach the public after a report by Matt Chorley of The Times on the 21st of July 2016, with the story being picked up by news organizations such as Huffington Post and ITV News. These reports would prompt a response by the Liberal Democrats, now under the leadership of Vince Cable, confirming the video's existing and stating their intention to keep it unreleased. Although the video remains unreleased, material relating to its filming has been made public. These include professionally shot images of Clegg during filming, as well as a behind-the-scenes footage depicting the filming of several scenes. I think it is funny that this was their idea to begin with, but that they would then go all the way through filming it in its entirety, and then kind of going, wait, this makes no sense, let's not show this. Did that never occur to anybody during the entire time they were filming? I don't know. I still think this one would be fun to see eventually. At number 2, we have the Ricardo Montalban Casa Bonita TV commercial, a lost commercial featuring the actor from 1974. Casa Bonita is a Mexican-themed restaurant in Lakewood, Colorado, a suburb of Denver, known outside the state generally for its appearances on the animated series South Park. It was originally part of a small chain, but the Colorado location, opened in 1973, is the only one that remains, and it actually is now owned by the creators of South Park, which is amazing. Around the time it opened, actor Ricardo Montalban, most famous for Fantasy Island and Star Trek, even before he appeared in the Wrath of Khan film, he filmed commercials for it, which aired on local television. Montalban was known to have visited Casa Bonita in the 1970s and sometimes dined with founder Bill Waugh, who he was photographed with. An image exists of Montalban outside the location, purportedly to film a commercial. The book A History Lover's Guide to Denver mentions that Ricardo Montalban starred in television advertisements in a section dedicated to Casa Bonita. Some efforts to locate the commercial believe it is the same Casa Bonita commercial often reported as responding to a rumor that the restaurant put dog food in its dishes, described at boingboing.net as so virulent and pervasive that Casa Bonita had to buy airtime on local TV to assure people that it most assuredly did not use dog food. While it is believed to have aired on KUSA or 9 News, which are both local Denver stations, so far the commercial has not been found. I desperately want to go to Casa Bonita ever since I found out about it on South Park, and even more when Matt and Trey bought the last surviving location, and I am a huge Ricardo Montalban fan, so I would love to see the two combined into a commercial. At number 3, we have Couch Potato, lost production materials of an unreleased Weird Al Yankovic music video from 2003. Now, I would hope I don't have to tell you who Weird Al Yankovic is, but a lot of my audience is younger, and who knows anymore. But Weird Al Yankovic is an American comedy musician known for his parodies of popular hit songs. Among those is 2003's Poodle Hat, featuring a parody of Eminem's Lose Yourself titled Couch Potato. In a 2004 interview, Yankovic stated that during the production of a music video for the track, Eminem expressed concerns, objecting to its creation and release, fearing that it may somehow damage his career. Production was forced to stop and the video was scrapped entirely, leaving the only video for any song on Poodle Hat to be the one for the album cut Bob, a homage to the music stylings of Bob Dylan. In response to Eminem's disagreement, Yankovic soon afterwards filmed a scathing mock interview for his show Al TV, in which he posed several questions to Eminem, only to have them answered by out-of-context clips taken from an actual Eminem interview, a segment that was frequently done for Al TV. He mentions the music video and its subsequent cancellation several times in the mock interview, with the implication that Eminem's supposedly positive views on artistic expression had rendered him a hypocrite, on account of his prior objection to Yankovic's own artistic expressions. It isn't entirely certain as to exactly how far along in development the music video had come, though most sources seem to imply that it was scrapped early in production. Additionally, Yankovic has revealed that the video would have contained a patchwork quilt consisting of scenes from Eminem's own music videos. No footage, storyboard scripts, or anything else of the sort from the music video has ever surfaced. I find this one interesting because while Weird Al did kind of mock Eminem for, Eminem claims to be a champion of free speech and artistic expression, but he didn't like the idea that his own work was going to be parodied. But yet, as much as Weird Al didn't agree with him, Weird Al does have a rule where he will, if a studio objects to him parodying one of their artists' songs, he will release it anyway. He will only stop production of his parody if the artist themselves expresses that they do not want him to do it out of respect to them. He is in no way legally required to stop production, as parody is allowed, but that he does respect the wishes of the artist. But I do agree that for someone like Eminem, who champions these things, to say, no, I think you parodying my stuff will hurt my career, I do think that's hypocritical, and I'm sure the music video would have been very entertaining. At number 4, we have Enchanted, a lost, deleted song from the Disney live-action animated fantasy comedy film of the same name from 2007. Enchanted is a 2007 live-action and animated romantic fantasy comedy from Disney. The film contained 5 songs written by Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz, the songwriters of Disney's Pocahontas and Hunchback of Notre Dame, so not their best, but certainly not their worst films. 3 of the songs, Happy Working Song, That's How You Know, and So Close, scored Best Song Oscar nominations. However, the title number doesn't appear in the final film. Enchanted tells of Giselle, played by Amy Adams, a woman who hails from the animated kingdom of Andalasia. She becomes engaged to marry Prince Edward, played by James Marsden, but the evil queen, Nerissa, played by Susan Sarandon, pushes her into a portal to contemporary live-action New York City. As Edward searches for Giselle, the attorney Robert Phillip, played by Patrick Dempsey, helps her learn about life in the live-action world. At the King and Queen's ball, Giselle and Robert solidify their love with a dance followed by true love's kiss. Meanwhile, Edward wins the affection of a fashion designer, Nancy Tremaine, played by Idina Menzel. After Giselle decides to stay in New York with Robert, Edward takes Nancy back to Andalusia, where she becomes his queen. According to Alan Menken, Edward and Nancy would have sung Enchanted after falling in love at the King and Queen's ball. Idina Menzel had previously worked with Stephen Schwartz on the Broadway musical Wicked. However, it became apparent during the production of Enchanted that it would not fit the story if Nancy sang a new song while still in New York. In the movie, none of the named New York characters sing their own numbers. Some of the nameless denizens accompany Giselle in performing That's How You Know, while real-life singer John McLaughlin croons So Close at the Ball. Robert does croon along to a bit of So Close, but at a volume at which only Giselle can hear him. As Giselle adjusts to the live-action domain, she also doesn't sing for the final half or so of the movie, and the final song, Ever Ever After, comes from a voice recorded by Carrie Underwood, completely off-screen. Menken's recollections that Enchanted would have played over a montage suggested that Ever Ever After replaced it, as it accompanies a montage of the main characters finding happiness in either Andalusia or New York, and works the word into the line, Let yourself be enchanted. Enchanted director Kevin Lima eventually confirmed this when describing the context of the deleted song on Twitter. Edward and Nancy would have begun singing it after he perfectly fit Giselle's missing shoe on Nancy's foot a la Cinderella, and then it would continue over the closing montage. Alan Menken recorded a full demo of Enchanted, while Idina Menzel and James Marsden recorded the intro before the song got cut. When Menken discussed the song in interviews, he teased that it would appear on the Enchanted DVD. Unfortunately, when the first DVD came out in March of 2008, this did not prove the case. Nancy appears in 2 of the 6 included deleted scenes and still doesn't sing in either of them. One has her and her fashion assistant discuss Nancy and Robert's romance issues and provides ironic foreshadowing for her marriage to a fairy tale prince. Another takes place after Nerissa kidnaps Robert during the ball, showing Nancy awaken Edward to follow after them and Giselle. Subsequent DVD re-releases of Enchanted use the same widescreen disc, so the song still remains unheard by the public. While there has been a sequel to this movie called Disenchanted, to this day, the deleted Enchanted duet has yet to resurface. I find this one very interesting because I heard in an interview once that Idina Menzel, who is very famous for her work on Broadway and also as Elsa in Frozen, stated that her favorite role was playing Nancy in Enchanted because it was the only time she was hired strictly for her acting ability and not because they wanted her to sing. And I find that interesting considering that there was supposed to be a song that she sang, it just ended up getting cut. And it does make me wonder if the directors would have hired her simply for her acting had they known that her character would not be singing a song, as she is most famous for her singing abilities, though she is a phenomenal actress. Alright, so at number 5 we have Tsukichi Saya Lost Monthly Japanese Idol DVD series from 2008 to 2009. Now, Saya Irei, known professionally under the mononym Saya, is a Japanese idol and actress. She began her career at age 11 in 2005 as a junior idol. This is a controversial category of young models, usually aged 15 and under, appearing on gravure DVDs, which is like, sexy bikini model stuff, which is really weird considering, again, she was 11. She also appeared in photo books and was a member of a couple of musical groups. She came into international attention and notoriety early on due to her unusually large bust for a Japanese girl her age, as well as the fact that she often posed in bikinis and other swimwear for her videos and books. Again, she was 11 when she started doing this. She also acted in mainstream movies and television. Now, the junior idol industry has become increasingly more taboo ever since, even in Japan, to the point where it's virtually extinct today, and most junior idols fade into obscurity when they get past the age of 15, which is again super creepy. However, Saya instead continued to find success well into adulthood, releasing a limited edition crowdfunded photo book in late 2021 to commemorate 15 years as an idol. Now, in 2008, the site tsukichisaya.com was launched. It was a membership-based site that put out content on a monthly basis. Among the content were monthly videos, 30 to 36 minutes in length, in DVD format. Now, remember, when this site would have launched and she would have been putting out these videos, she would have been 14 and 15 years old. Now, you might be asking yourself, what's so interesting about a series of DVDs featuring an underage girl in a bunch of skimpy outfits? I mean, it sounds awful, but why are we talking about it here? Because, of course, every one of these things that I list on this video, I somehow, give my 2 cents on why I find it interesting. And honestly, the thing I find interesting about these videos is how they were distributed. As I said before, they were DVD format, but they were not released on physical DVDs. Rather, the members could download the DVD content to software on their computer using a process known as DVD Toaster. So they would download the content to software on their computer, which would then write content to a DVD-R via their DVD burner. Now, DVD-RW, DVD plus R, DVD plus RW, and DVD plus RDL were incompatible with this format, so it was just DVD-R that you could do this with. At least 12 of these DVDs were produced, and they were not included as part of the membership, as each one cost 1,200 yen to burn, so roughly that would have been $12. The DVD Toaster service was provided by Ace Deuce Entertainment, who served as the publisher of the volumes. But yes, perhaps due to the limited method of distribution, footage from these DVDs has rarely been seen since the site shut down. The DVDs themselves have also apparently never been sold in the aftermarket, likely due to the fact that they were burned at home by the consumer and would thus appear to be bootlegs, though they technically aren't. The only publicly available footage from any of the DVDs is a trailer for the first volume on YouTube, albeit in very poor quality. And honestly, the only thing I really find interesting about this is the method to which this content was originally distributed. I think it is perfectly fine that these gravure DVDs, however you pronounce it, of a 14/15-year-old Japanese model can just fucking stay lost, but it is an interesting concept. God, I can't even remember the last time I burned a DVD. Alright guys, at number 1 we have The Anti-Gravity Room, which is a partially found American-Canadian TV series that was on the air from 1995 to 1997. So, The Anti-Gravity Room was a weekly show that focused on comics, video games, movies, music, and pop culture. It featured interviews and reviews, and it was a Canadian-American joint production between YTV and the Sci-Fi Channel. The two main hosts were Nick Sklar in New York and Phil Guerrero in Toronto. Other hosts over the years included Sashi Bhatti, Jamie Malin, Eugene Vincent, Ashna Patel, and Patricia Ribeiro. Ribeiro? I don't know. Special hosts have included Kevin Smith, Janine Garofalo, Lori Pike, Jeff Smith, Heidi MacDonald, and Ben Stiller. Also, prior to being picked up by YTV, the show existed as a call-in show on a public access television, and none of these early episodes are publicly available. It looks like all in all of the known episodes, there were about 65 altogether. And if you scroll down the Lost Media Wiki, you'll see a large mix of lost, found, partially found, until you get all the way down to episode 53. And episodes 53 through 65 are completely lost. In fact, we don't even necessarily know the names of a lot of those episodes. Now, I've never seen this show, but I do find it very interesting because we take for granted in this day and age where, here on YouTube, you can type in any video game and the word review, any music, any movie, and you're going to find a million channels that do movie reviews, book reviews, music reviews of everything. But it was very rare to have a show in the 90s in general that focused on these topics: comics, video games, movies, music, and pop culture. Like, people on like MTV or whatever would review the popular bands, but it's nice to see that at some point, in the late 90s, there was moves towards this kind of content. And I would be very interested to see a 90s take on the type of content that we take for granted in this day and age. And even not so long, I remember in the early 2000s getting most of my video game, any video game reviews that I didn't read on the internet or just see a friend playing. I got my information from G4 TV. So yeah, this one's cool. I'm going to look up some of the episodes that are found, and hopefully we find the rest at some point. At number 2, we have TV Teddy, partially found animatronic voiceovers for VHS content circa 1993. So yeah, around 1993, the company Yes Entertainment, in conjunction with Shoot the Moon Productions, produced TV Teddy. Now this teddy bear was inspired by the Teddy Ruxpin toy from the 1980s. There were various VHS tapes that had special hidden data on them to allow the toy to appear to interact with the on-screen content. According to the manual, the toy worked by connecting a wireless transmitter to the composite video line between the VCR and the television. The transmitter would then interpret a barcode along the left side of the video frame and send instructions to the TV Teddy animatronic. This would tell the toy to animate the eyes and mouth, as well as provide a voiceover. The English language voice of TV Teddy was performed by Kath Suchi, though it is unknown who performed the alternate language versions of the voice. So the basic structure of the VHS content consisted of 3 parts. The main portion in the middle consisted of the main attraction. This was some pre-existing content, such as Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or the Berenstain Bears. Because this content was pre-existing, the characters could not interact with TV Teddy. However, TV Teddy would often comment on what was happening on screen, sometimes to explain something and other times to crack a joke. The beginning section and end section of the tape were live-action segments known as Anthony's Attic. This section featured the character of Anthony, played by Douglas Maines, who performed various silly skits in his attic. These sections were made especially for TV Teddy, so Anthony and TV Teddy could have a pre-recorded conversation and appear to interact with one another. Most of the known VHS tapes were released in the US in a collaboration between Yes Entertainment and Family Home Entertainment. However, some tapes were released in the UK by the toy company Tomy. These tapes used properties that were more familiar over there, such as Super Ted, Postman Pat, and Mr. Men. One VHS is known to have released in Italy by the company Giozzi Presioni that was La Bella e la Bestia, which is a retelling of The Beauty and the Beast. A Spanish language commercial has also surfaced, which suggests that there was a release either in Spain or Mexico. However, no Spanish language tape titles are known. Setting aside the VHS tapes, the manual for TV Teddy claims that there were plans for broadcast television programs to use the special TV Teddy barcode to enable the toy to interact with them. However, it is unclear if any additional programs were made for broadcast outside of the VHS tapes, and it is unclear whether any TV Teddy compatible programs were ever broadcast on live television. As to what we currently have available from these broadcasts, some VHS tapes have been uploaded to YouTube. These uploads do not contain the TV Teddy voiceover audio. However, they usually contain the scrolling barcode on the left side of the video frame. It is possible that playing the digital file, converting the digital video into an analog composite signal, and running the video through an actual TV Teddy could allow the toy to reproduce the audio that was hidden in the barcode. So basically, there are efforts to try and recover this audio, but so far, out of all of the known tapes, only the Berenstain Bears in Giant Bat Cave has been successfully recovered, which means there are 20 known tapes for which the TV Teddy reactions are completely lost. This one's really interesting to me. I mean, definitely the 80s and the 90s were all about selling toys, especially in children's programming, and this one tried to link programming with toys. So it's like, you gotta buy this toy so you can watch that, you can have him interact with the special videotapes that you're going to buy, or even there were plans, it's like, hey, if you want to get the most out of the content that we're eventually going to broadcast on TV, you got to have the TV Teddy. You know, making these LinkedIn proprietary technologies that you need, you need one to use the other. That was a big thing in the 90s. I mean, it's still technically a big thing now. And I think this one's especially interesting because technically we have all the tools to recover it. It's just, we're limited by what recordings we can salvage and how we can transfer, and unfortunately VHS not the highest quality when transferring it over to digital, but who knows, maybe someday someone will finish putting the time and effort in and we'll know every last thing TV Teddy could say. At number 3, we have the Philadelphia Toboggan Company partially found audio of automatons 1920s to the 1950s. So yeah, automatons, more often known as like animatronics, love them or hate them, they are a part of American history and pop culture. Whether you are upset to hear that most Chuck E. Cheese's are doing away with their robot band or are happy to see them go, you can't help but admit that America and the world at large seems to have a fascination with these robotic minstrels. Now, the Philadelphia Toboggan Company was a company that specialized in the production of amusement park structures such as roller coasters, carousels, skee-ball machines, and more. Among the list of attractions the company produced was a line of automatons, mechanized contraptions that were made to replicate the movements and actions of human beings. Little is known about these automatons, and what is known of them is met with many complications through many varying recollections as well as a vast rarity of existing models. Well, that sounds like the perfect intro for a creepypasta, doesn't it? After the production of their first and most popular model, Laughing Sal, this line of automatons became well-renowned attractions in the world of amusement and theme parks. A few of the models were made by Old King Cole Paper Mache Company after being subcontracted by the Philadelphia Toboggan Company. However, with the exception of Laughing Sal, all of these models have since disappeared widely from the public eye, losing both their former fame as well as the audio tracks held within them. Now, we mentioned Laughing Sal. Laughing Sal was the first and most popular model of the series of automatons produced by Old King Cole and the Philadelphia Toboggan Company. Originally intended to be a Laughing Santa automaton, she was first produced in the early 1930s to attract and entertain crowds at fun houses. Her production was subcontracted to Old King Cole Paper Mache Company in Canton, Ohio, where she was then distributed to theme parks such as Playland at the Beach, Crystal Beach, and the Pike Amusement Park, where she resided with Blackie the Barker and Laughing Sam at the entrance of their Laugh in the Dark ride. There are two stories circulating about her audio track. In a 1994 interview with Dennis Atkinson, the former Old King Cole general manager, John Jackson stated that Sal's audio was sourced from a male radio talk show host who began to laugh while intoxicated after consuming Jack Daniel's whiskey. Now that's a plug. However, a legal case was brought upon the Philadelphia Toboggan Company by a woman who claimed to have voiced Sal. However, due to her inability to prove evidence, her case was dismissed. Laughing Sal's audio can be easily found through YouTube videos, her most popular locations being at the Beach Boardwalk in Santa Cruz, as well as the Musée Mécanique in San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf. So this one of them is more readily available. But then we have Laughing Sam. Now, Laughing Sam was the first automaton produced following the massive success of Laughing Sal. Created to be Sal's husband, fewer models of him were produced compared to his female counterpart, though there have been claims that Laughing Sam was showcased at the Kennywood Amusement Park near Pittsburgh and made an appearance at the beginning of the 1982 short movie Arcade Attack, Silverball Heroes vs. Video Invaders. The only two confirmed locations of which Sam was displayed were at the Laugh in the Dark exhibits as well as in Cleveland's Euclid Park, where he was unfortunately damaged during a fire. There are also currently two theories regarding Sam's audio track. According to the 1994 interview, John Jackson stated that the audio tracks for Laughing Sal and Laughing Sam were the exact same, with the only difference being a sentence regarding Christmas being stated by Sam every so often. However, due to Jackson's age at the time, it is hard to say whether or not his memories of the automaton are accurate. Bill Luca, the owner of the official Laugh in the Dark website, claims that the audio found in 1970s Laugh-N-Head Crazy Vet line of toys was sourced from a sped-up portion of the Old King Cole record track for Sam. However, Dan Kaufman of BB Productions, which produced the Laugh-N-Head, stated that the audio was provided by Ozen, a popular soundbox company in the 1970s. Due to a missing connection between Old King Cole or Philadelphia Toboggan Company and Ozen, however, this cannot be fully confirmed. It is also believed that the audio from Sam may have been provided by Mesmer and Damon, a New York City-based amusement park renowned for their mechanical displays. We also have, as previously mentioned, Blackie the Barker, also known as Blackie the Sideshow Barker and Joe Barker, was the third most popular automaton in the Philadelphia Toboggan Company. I'm going to call them PTC from now on. That's getting old to say. But in PTC's lineup, A model of Blackie the Barker used to sit with Sal and Sam at the entrance to the Laugh in the Dark ride at the Pike, but has since deteriorated. Not much is known about the model, and locations for the automaton besides the Pike are virtually unknown. Next up, we have Laughing Luke and Giggling Gertie. These two are two sitting automatons produced and distributed by PTC that were more often than not sold together as a pair. According to newspaper advertisements that PTC distributed, the automatons came with 20 records with a sale. It is currently unknown as to whether or not any of these records were shared with other models, and audio of any of the recordings has yet to surface. And finally, of the former PTC automatons, we have Laughing Farmer. Laughing Farmer is an extremely obscure model of the automatons sold and produced by PTC. Online, there is only one image proving its existence, and it is currently unknown as to where any models of the automatons would have resided. I, for one, love animatronics and automatons and all that. I've never found them creepy. I know, I was like the one kid who, looking back, isn't skeeved out by the Chuck E. Cheese band. In fact, I would love to have also been able to go to Showbiz Pizza and see the Rock of Fire explosion. When we think of animatronics, we think either of like Disney Imagineering as well as, you know, a lot of the pizza joints of the 80s and 90s, but automatons and animatronics have been a huge part of American pop culture and even world pop culture and entertainment for the better part of honestly over a century at this point. Fans of lost media and general, like, mysterious stuff in general probably have heard of the Turk, which was supposedly an automaton that could play chess and beat chess masters. Now, this one was proven to have been a hoax, but however, people were captivated by this idea that there was a mechanical man who could play chess. We've always loved the idea of singing, dancing, and entertaining mechanical beings. And I would love to see more found media from these popular, 20s to 50s animatronics found. Alright, at number 4 we have Cabbage, which is a lost build for a cancelled Nintendo 64 disk drive game from 1997. So Cabbage is actually a code name for an unfinished cancelled game that was being developed by Shigesatsu Itoi, Tsunekazu Ishihara, and Sugeru Miyamoto. It was supposed to be revealed in Space World 2000 before becoming cancelled and lost to time. Now, Cabbage was announced in 1997 as a game in which players are able to raise, feed, and carry around a creature called Cabbage. Miyamoto stated that the game was in development for 5 years, that the game would make use of the 64 disk drive internal real-time clock, a hardware feature that was unique to video game consoles, so it can keep the Cabbage creature and its virtual world running while the console is off. Furthermore, the game was going to be allowed to have Game Boy connectivity via the transfer pack, so the creature could be transferred into an interactive carrying basket game. At Space World 1997, Miyamoto describes the features such as giving it toys, swings, slides, pawns, and so forth. The team also proposed the ability to use a rewritable 64 disk drive floppy disk to swap the character's toys between different players. Miyamoto only describes the game verbally, without holding any real Cabbage graphic. In an interview with 64 Dream, Itoi states that HAL Laboratories' Satoru Iwata joined the project because the tools they're using to make Cabbage are drastically modernizing. Making those tools is the most laborious part, so it looks like that part's finishing up. Itoi also states that they were working on the project without supervision from Nintendo's president. Now in 2000, Itoi gave an update on the game, stating that Miyamoto was looking forward and wanted to get something done relatively soon. It was planned to be playable at Space World 2000, but no demo screenshots or videos were ever revealed. According to Miyamoto, though, it was because Itoi and Isuhara were occupied with other projects such as Mother 3, which is also a piece of lost media. Now, in a 2006 interview, Miyamoto stated that Cabbage news stopped for so long that he considered it being cancelled, but also revealed that gameplay concepts and elements from Cabbage were in Nintendogs and had similarities to Animal Crossing. But as to what's available, no footage or images from the game have surfaced, but photos of magazines that talked about Cabbage have been posted online. People do hope that Cabbage in some form will see the light of day one day. This one I find interesting, not so much for what the game could have been. I've never been a big Animal Crossing or Nintendogs fan, but it just showcases that Nintendo, while a lot of times people say, oh, well, Nintendo's just a console for kiddos, More so than any other console manufacturer, Nintendo has always tried to be at the forefront of advancing technologies. I mean, back in the day, they were the first console to offer kids an art tablet. I remember Super Mario Paint Studio or whatever it was called. While the Virtual Boy was a complete flop, they were trying to catch that new upcoming wave of VR technology. They were the first console to really have like a mouse peripheral. They were one of the first to really go hardcore into motion controls, and even the disk drive, which again, it didn't work out, and because it didn't really work out well, it indirectly led to the creation of their biggest rival, the Sony PlayStation. Nintendo has always been trying to stay at the top of the innovation curve when it comes to ways that they can build gaming experiences for their audience. And, this is just one that they talked about. Who knows how many things never got mentioned because they just didn't pan out. But I definitely think it is interesting and would be interesting to see more of like what they were developing for this game, even though ultimately it never saw fruition. It's just neat. At number 5, we have the 2012 Olympics promotional video, a partly found controversial Olympic advert from 2008. So this piece of lost media concerns a 3-minute promotional advert showcasing the city of London ahead of the 2012 Olympic Games that featured a short clip of a portrait of the infamous serial killer Myra Hindley. The video was made by London's tourism board, Visit London, and showed many different aspects of London culture. So a bit of background as to why this is controversial. Myra Hindley was one of the most notorious serial killers in the UK. Between 1963 and 1965, she and her boyfriend Ian Brady murdered 4 children and buried their bodies on the Saddleworth Moor. After they were both arrested, Myra's mugshot was printed in newspapers, where the image would become synonymous with the evilness in the eyes of the British public. The portrait shown in the video is called Myra from 1995 and was created by artist Marcus Harvey, who remade the murderer's famous mugshot using children's handprints. It was first shown at the Sensation exhibit in 1997 at London's Royal Academy of Art. Many of the artworks in the exhibition were considered controversial, but Myra caused the most outrage among the public. On the opening day of the exhibition, there was a protest outside the Academy from a group Mothers Against Murders and Aggression, and inside the exhibit, the portrait was vandalized twice. So needless to say, not a popular figure, not a popular piece of art. Now, in 2008, a party was held in Beijing at the London House celebrating the handover of the next Olympic Games to London for 2012. At the party, a promotional video made by Visit London played on a big screen for the guests. Attending this party was UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown, London Mayor Boris Johnson, and many other important people. The video showcased many different aspects of London's culture. However, what caught people's attention was the brief second the portrait of Myra Hindley was shown on screen. After the party was over, a spokesperson for Downing Street said, "The use of this image is in extremely poor taste and it should not have been used to promote London." Now, as to its availability, Visit London has said that the video is not for general public use and has been used many times over the last few years to show to the tourism trade. They have also said, however, if any offense has been caused, we will withdraw it from use with immediate effect. Contrary to the first statement from Visit London, the video was said to have been on their website in the past. Part of the promo can be seen playing in the background of an interview by CCTV, China Central Television, where the portrait is shown for a brief second. Now, I am 100% in favor of there being just free speech for everybody. If you want to make a portrait of a famous child unaliver and make that out of a kind of a collage of children's handprints, more power to you. I just don't think it was smart for London's tourism board to feature it in a video that they supposedly used as a way to pitch visiting London to various tourism agencies. I mean, London has a vibrant art scene. Why, of all the pieces you could showcase, would it be this one? I'm not saying they shouldn't be allowed to use it, I'm just saying it was kind of a dumb move. Like, I guarantee these projects, these videos, this Visit London promo video, I'm sure it had a team working on it, and they had to run ideas by their superiors. It wasn't just one guy who was like, yeah, I'm going to clip a second of this portrait in. So how, at any point during the creation of this video, was there not one person that went, maybe not that painting? So while yes, this is a piece of lost media, and honestly kind of for good reason, it's not available to the public, it is in poor taste, I just want to know why London's tourism board, Visit London, ever thought it was a good idea to put this in one of their videos. Like, what did they think was going to happen? That's the lost media I want to see. I want to see the minutes of their meetings where they were talking about putting this in the video and how and why nobody thought that was a bad idea. That's what I want to see. At number 1, we have Capital Punishment, a non-existent build of a cancelled PC action game from 1994. Capital Punishment is a cancelled video game project by famed programmer Al Lowe, who created the Leisure Suit Larry series. It would have been published by Sierra and released for the PC by the end of 1994. It was meant to be an action game, where the player would play as both Bill and Hillary Clinton riding in a canoe on a long river while avoiding many obstacles and enemies, usually based on rival politicians, and the gameplay would involve various politics-related satirical imagery. Al Lowe cancelled the game when he realized his idea looked better on paper than in execution, and due to technical limitations after getting so many elements together, the game would be bogged down terribly. Besides screenshots for the game, according to Al Lowe, through way of emails, there are no builds to Capital Punishment. Lowe stated that the name never got to the prototype stage in development and has since sold animation cells for the game on eBay. I mean, I feel like political satire in the 90s was just a little bit more good-natured than it is now. Politics has gotten really toxic, and I mean, it always kind of has been, but I feel like up to the 90s there was at least civil discourse. I think this would have been a very tongue-in-cheek game had it gotten made, but I feel like the ultimate reason it didn't get made was not because of technical limitations, but it just would not have had a lot of people who this game would have been targeted at. Really, it would have been like my parents' age at the time who didn't play computer games. But hey, points for trying. Next up, we have Barbie Treasures in Time / Time Traveler, a non-existent build of a GameCube / PlayStation 2 video game from 2002. I mean, certainly Barbie Mania is in full force today with that movie that recently came out. I did watch it. It wasn't like life-shattering, but I enjoyed it. But I remember back in the early 2000s, so many Barbie games and movies. My sister's favorite was Barbie Writing Club. But Barbie Treasures in Time / Time Traveler is a cancelled sequel to Barbie Explorer for the Nintendo GameCube and PlayStation 2. This game has been developed by Runecraft and never even had an alpha build, as proven by one of the game's programmers, Simeon Pashley, and published by Vivendi Games itself. Sorry, that copy was written a little weird. In Barbie Treasures in Time, Barbie goes on a time-traveling trip to find lost treasures. Within the game, you visit lagoons, ancient cities, shipwrecks, secret caves, a castle in a medieval world, futuristic gardens, lush forests, and a futuristic theme park. On your way, you obtain so-called magic items to unlock new movements like rolling, diving, and jumping, which helps you move over obstacles. The game has 2 working titles. Barbie Time Traveler was the title for the PlayStation 2 release. Barbie Treasures in Time was the name for the GameCube release. Now, on the 3rd of December 2002, an Amazon account named DeRosette Myers posted a 5-star review showing excitement about the game, while also showing doubt that this game will ever be released. And on the 31st of August 2003, another Amazon user named Valeria Gonzalez account made a review on the game's page looking for the game. I don't fully understand what that means. Like, how could you make reviews for the game that hasn't come out yet? Claiming that they tried to visit the Toys R Us to no avail, with Toys R Us claiming that they had this game on store shelves a long time ago, but not anymore. Valeria ends the review by asking for resellers of the game to contact them. On the 10th of May 2019, a Twitter account named The One and Only Cap replied with a poll to a tweet saying, "Only if you can prove you're a real gay mergirl pop quiz, have your 100%ed Barbie Treasures in Time for the Nintendo GameCube," with the answers yes and not a gamer. Gamer with a G-A-Y-M-E-R. The Twitter account Pinky Noise replied to said tweet on the 26th of June 2022 with the text, "Do you have the game?" Unfortunately, the protagonist has not interacted with the reply and still has their direct messages on Twitter closed. I am so confused right now. On the 2nd of April 2021, a vConcatK, whatever that is, user named, nope, not even gonna try, that's some weird thing of like sigils, shared 2 more screenshots of the game from a website, cubeeurope.com. On the 26th of June 2022, a Barbie video game speedrunner nicknamed Pinky Noise found a LinkedIn account of the senior producer of Vivendi Games, the game's publisher. On the 27th of June 2022, a Barbie video game speedrunner named Potchblank found a cover of an instructional booklet for the game, which further shows evidence that the name Barbie Time Traveler is possibly the name of the game for the PS2 release. Also, on the 27th of June 2022, another speedrunner nicknamed Soul Closet sent out a message to the senior producer's LinkedIn, which unfortunately has been ignored by the senior producer. Even though they have been active on the account, the message has been ignored. Now, moving ahead to the 30th of August 2022, speedrunner Pinky Noise found a LinkedIn account of the concept work creator for this game, who is also included in their work description, including Premiere Manager 2002 and Barbie Treasures in Time for PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, revealing an intended Xbox release. Also on the same date, on the French website sincecritique.com, Pinky Noise discovered a comment from user Lulu654 on a Barbie Time Traveler forum that states, an attribute 6 out of 10, a jeu Barbie Time Traveler, which translates to rated 6 out of 10 to the Barbie Time Traveler game. Then, on the 2nd of December, a discovery was made by Barbie video game speedrunner Matthew Wenis0, and he discovered a blog post of a RuneCraft programmer at the time, Simeon Poshley, which states that he worked on a PS2 platformer game during that period. After thorough checking, the only game developed by RuneCraft at that time was Barbie Time Traveler. Also on the same day, in the same post, Matthew discovered that RuneCraft stopped existing due to lying to publishers like Vivendi, possibly making the actual description of the game inaccurate. And now we come to the 7th of December, and the game's supposed lead programmer, Simeon Poshley, has been contacted by Pinky Noise and claimed that RuneCraft was objectively a lazy company that people only worked for because of high pay. This was one of the major reasons RuneCraft fell to its demise. He also noted that all the files of Barbie Treasures in Time were lost after one of the 2 RuneCraft studios in Leeds was closed down. In the same email, Simeon said the game was nowhere near finished, not even at alpha stage, proving that there was never even a functional build. Woo! What a ride! I mean, ultimately, there's been a lot of kids' Barbie media in the form of video games and movies, and most of them are absolutely terrible. But I think the interesting thing behind this story is just the amount of effort that went into possibly figuring out whatever happened to this game, and that ultimately it was just discovered that, yeah, we just kind of dicked around and never really got anywhere with it. Kind of an anticlimactic ending, but wow, that was an awful lot going into that search. Guess I'll just have to make do with Barbie Writing Club. At number 3, we have Sonic 16, which is a non-existent build of an unreleased Sega Genesis / Mega Drive game based on the Sonic the Hedgehog animated series 1993. So, these days you probably associate Sonic the Hedgehog with 2 things. One, a series of now lackluster games, and furries. But once upon a time, Sonic was a real contender for, like a real rival to Mario for, most popular video game character. So much so that he had not one, but 2 TV shows, both made by Deke Entertainment, that were running at the same time. And while they were very different shows, Sonic was voiced in both of them by Jaleel White, who you may know as Urkel from Family Matters. And I remember kid me being a little kid at the time, because these both premiered in September of 1993. The show that was, actually more or less what the characters of that show are what the game Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine are based off of, is by far the less cool show. That was called The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. That was the first one. We then also got one called just Sonic the Hedgehog, and this is the one that was like, Dr. Robotnik is taken over, he's an evil despot, Sonic and his animal friends in the underground are fighting to take him down and free their friends who have been turned into, basically animal cyborgs. I didn't realize they were two different shows. I just thought certain episodes were a lot better than others. And while the characters and villains from The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog have showed up in other early games, like I said, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine definitely had you going up against these specific robots that Dr. Robotnik had made, but we've never had one really based on that really awesome Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon. And don't confuse that with Sonic Underground, that came later. But yeah, so that's just a little background if you aren't aware of just how saturated we were with super cool Sonic media back in the 90s. But Sonic 16 is a cancelled Sonic game developed by Sega Technical Institute and based on DiC's Saturday morning television series Sonic the Hedgehog, also known as Sonic Sat AM. It had larger graphics, a different art style, and a different style of gameplay similar to Prince of Persia and beat-em-up games. The game would have also been more story-driven than previous Sonic titles in order to link it more to the cartoon. It was ultimately cancelled by Yuji Naka, possibly due to the slower-paced gameplay. Yeah, that's real interesting because, what do we know about Sonic? Gotta go fast. But what do we know about this cancelled game? Well, Sonic 16 was a departure from the traditional speed-based Sonic games before. The gameplay was more akin to beat-em-up games with elements of Prince of Persia. Okay, so that's a little opposite of what they said previously. I thought it was going to be more Prince of Persia, but apparently that was a minimal thing, mostly a beat-em-up. And it was less focused on speed. Sonic was given new abilities, such as the ability to climb ledges, and new attacks like Ring Attack, Buzzsaw, and Spike Blast. The enemies would have included SWAT bots and other menacing machines rather than the badniks of traditional Sonic games. Sally Acorn from Sat AM appeared in the game as well. Yep, that's all. She's the reason that you might associate Sonic with furries. It all started with Sally. Now, on April 12th of 2008, a demo video was uploaded to YouTube by Mondo Mole. The demo advertised the game's state-of-the-art animation and demonstrated its different style of play and Sonic's new moves. It was created by Peter Morawick and John Dugan and copyrighted by Sega Technical Institute of 1993. But other than that, nothing of this game exists. We just have this brief demo video footage that that's it. They never really got around to a playable build, and, I definitely think it might have had trouble selling being so drastically different, but it would have been cool to have gotten a Sonic game based on the television show we all loved. Now, at number 4, we have Twin Peaks, a non-existent cancelled NES role-playing game based on the ABC horror drama series from 1991. I do think it's interesting that some of these games that get canceled from the 90s were definitely aimed at an older audience at a time where, yes, there were mature-rated games, but ultimately, games were very much the purview of children. I mean, sure, you have like Leisure Suit Larry and Custer's Revenge and all that, but I mean, ultimately, these games were games for kids. So to make them not only for more adult properties, but also properties that kids probably weren't interested in, because I mean, I've tried to watch Twin Peaks now. It's freaking weird. I can't see myself having been interested in that in 1991, but let's see why this game didn't get made. So Twin Peaks was a planned 1991 role-playing game that was being developed by High Tech Expressions. It would have been based on the popular ABC TV series of the same name. The game was mentioned in a few gaming magazines of the time, such as Nintendo Power, GamePro, and Game Players. The plot of the game would have been based on Season 2 of the show, with multiple endings possible depending on which character was played. The player would have had the ability to play one of the main characters of the show and try to solve the mysteries of Twin Peaks. It was originally going to come out in 1991, but was cancelled due to a perceived lack of overlap between Twin Peaks fans and NES players. Well, there you go. I guess I was kind of right about that one. Now, on March 29th of 2022, video game journalist Jack Yarwood posted a tweet in which he showcased an email he had previously received from former High Tech Expressions producer Billy Pigeon about the game. In the email, Billy confirmed that the development of the game never went any further than basic discussions of its potential gameplay, with no production material of any sort ever having been produced for it. I feel like back in the day, video game tie-ins were way more popular, one, because games were so easy to make. Like, it took you maybe a year to make a game. That if something came out and was popular, you could make a video game for it very quickly. I feel like a lot of video game pitch meetings back in the day was a bunch of dudes who, may or may not know what kids want, going, "All right, guys, what's popular today? What can we make a video game of? And it's like, oh, that Twin Peaks show's getting a lot of watchers. Excellent, let's make a Twin Peaks game. And they start making it, and they're like, wait a minute. We're Nintendo. We don't make crap like this. None of our demographic probably watches Twin Peaks. What are we going to do? And we're starting with season 2. Geez, they're not even getting the story from the beginning. They're going to have to have seen Twin Peaks. Yeah, no, I definitely think a lot of these, it's funny how so many canceled games come from the fact that they're like, why would we make a game out of this? Certain properties just don't transfer well to kiddie games. Now our fifth and not safe for work piece today is Radio Flyer, non-existent build of a cancelled Super Nintendo movie tie-in game from 1992. When I found this article on the Lost Media Wiki, this is what inspired me to make this entire video of video games that never actually got made. Now, if you've not seen it, Radio Flyer is a movie about two boys who are horribly abused by their stepfather. And in the end, the youngest brother escapes by building himself a working airplane out using his Radio Flyer red wagon. It's a good movie, but it's a dark movie. And I was kind of amazed when I saw the name. I'm like, that can't be what they were going to make a video game of. Like, okay, but it was, so let's get into this one. Radio Flyer is a cancelled flying game that was in development by Ocean for the Super Nintendo based on the 1992 drama movie of the same name. It was scheduled for release sometime in 1992. The game was cancelled for unknown reasons, but a possible reason could be that it was based on a movie about child physical abuse. Yeah, that's what I was saying. In an issue of the UK gaming magazine Retro Gamer, it was confirmed by former Ocean employee and artist Brian Flanagan that development for Radio Flyer was axed before it even started. The movie being about child abuse appears to be the reason for its cancellation. The screenshots sent to gaming magazines could possibly have been mock-ups of what the game would have been like. Again, I feel like this is a perfect example of the 90s being a time where games started to be able to look really cool, and as such you could have fun tie-ins and all that. It wasn't just, a series of dots and pixels on a screen. You could really go all out with some of these home console games, and they were trying to entice people to buy the games by linking them with popular properties. And yes, the Radio Flyer movie, great movie. I remember seeing it as a kid going, wow. That's like the idea, when I think about movies where a child is, abused, and showing that in a way that as a kid makes you go, wow, I can't believe some people have to live like this. I think of Radio Flyer. It's a very moving drama about these two brothers and their will to survive this horrible situation. I would never have thought to have based a video game on it. Let alone one that is just a flying game where you're flying around in the Radio Flyer machine and it's like, yeah, no, this is fun, this is lighthearted. That is not the plot of this movie. I feel like these video game, board members, decision makers, just were trying to throw things at the wall and seeing what stuck, and at the same time they were dealing with the fact that sometimes they would throw out these ideas and it's like, oh my god, what were we thinking? But, so this game never existed, and if you haven't seen it, go watch Radio Flyer. At number 1, we have 2 Foot O Butt Crack, found Bruce Greenwood song from Dumb and Dumber comedy film circa 1994. This piece was found on the 2nd of December of 2015 and was found by Billy Goodrum. Now, I've never seen Dumb and Dumber, and people that I tell that to are always surprised by that because I love movies and they all say that the comedy, I find it absolutely hilarious, but I have not seen the film. But that's why this one stood out to me, because I didn't know there was a piece of lost media related with the film. 2 Foot O Butt Crack is a song featured on the soundtrack for the film Dumb and Dumber. The song is heard briefly during the truck stop scene in the first half of the movie. Only the lyrics 2 Foot O Butt Crack was all I could see are audible before the sound fades out. The end credits of the movie list the song as being performed by a band called Circle the Wagon. According to the Wikipedia article on Dumb and Dumber, the only known copy is somewhere in the possession of New Line Cinema. In an interview with The Hour, Canadian actor Bruce Greenwood actually claimed to be the man singing the song, and that Circle the Wagon was misattributed during production. An edited version of the song excerpted from the movie surfaced on January 13th of 2015. The full song was uploaded on December 2nd of that same year. And just for funsies, the lyrics of the song are, "I got up every morning, worked my fingers to the bone, and bought her a washer for our new mobile home. But when the thing shut down, she had a cold-hearted plan to find her way into the arms of another man. She grabbed the yellow pages and hit the telephone. But when I came home early, she was not alone. As I came through the door, he was slipping away. My jaw hit the floor, she had nothing to say. 2-foot o' butt crack was all I could see. The wrong end of the repairman was looking back at me. He went out the window as I came through the door, and I saw them repair coveralls laying on the floor." Now the neighbors informed me about the Maytag man, driving up every day in his repair van. He was there to work on her, not the washing machine. It was fine, my heart was broke. It was a sad, sad scene. 2-foot o' butt crack was all I could see. The wrong end of the repairman was looking back at me. He went out the window as I came through the door, and I saw them repair coveralls laying on the floor. Oh, and if I thought she loved him for his uniform, I have bought myself one I could afford. And if I thought it turned her on with his repair tool, I'd have bought me a wrench and gone to repair school. 2-foot o' butt crack was all I could see. The wrong end of the repairman was looking back at me. He went out the window as I came through the door, and I saw them repair coveralls laying on the floor. Again, I find the story behind this pretty interesting because it was just some song you heard for a brief second in a movie, nothing really to do with the plot, but people loved the movie, or I guess loved this little excerpt of the song so much that they went on a hunt for this song that lasted over 10 years. It just kind of shows you that where there's a will, there's a way, and never underestimate the persistence of people trying to find lost media. At number 2, we have 40 Winks, a found Nintendo 64 port of a PlayStation 3D platformer circa 1999 to 2000. This was found on the 29th of January 2008 for the prototype, and on the 22nd of October for 2018, 10 years later, for the official release. The prototype was found by Gorgy Rip, and Pico Interactive handled the official release. So 40 Winks is a platformer game developed by Eurocom for the PlayStation in 1999. While the game received mixed reviews, development of a Nintendo 64 port began and was set for a 2000 release date. The Nintendo 64 port of 40 Winks was very far into development, having received a review from the official Nintendo magazine. In late 1999, the publishers began debating whether or not they should release the game for the N64, with IGN calling its future uncertain. Ultimately, they decided against it, and the port went unreleased. As mixed reviews came in for 40 Winks, the parent company GT Interactive was starting to be affected by the commercial failure of 40 Winks on the PlayStation. In order to stay afloat, GT Interactive started to sell off assets and downsize the development team working on the N64 port. Despite all these efforts, the port was cancelled in 2000, even though the port was covered in a lot of gaming magazines. As to its availability, even though the English, Spanish, and Italian prototypes were released on popular ROM hosting websites and could be easily discovered through a simple Google search, on February 12th of 2018, Pico Interactive, a game development and publishing company that concentrates on licensing and finishing new and unfinished games for retro video game consoles, launched a Kickstarter to officially release 40 Winks on the N64. The Kickstarter raised $131,252 with 1,709 backers by the deadline, which not only got 40 Winks released on the N64, but Microsoft Windows and Steam as well on October 22nd of 2018. The N64 version even got a special edition release with a black-colored game cartridge, art book poster, POG, and CD containing the soundtrack. Pico also released a limited amount of special edition N64 40 Winks controllers along with the game. So I've actually never heard of this game 40 Winks. I had a PlayStation back in the day and I don't remember this one at all. I definitely find it interesting that for a game that was ultimately, the port was canceled because the game itself was not selling well, that there would be enough of an interest in finally getting just a port. Like, as far as I understand, you can go buy the PlayStation game at any used store and play it on a PlayStation, but no, people wanted the N64 version, and actually got together, and even though the original technically wasn't found, a whole new company got together and made the port. I don't know, I just find that interesting. Maybe you do, maybe not, I don't know, but it's my channel. At number 3, we have a self-induced hallucination, a found Jane Sjobernaar documentary on the Slender Man creepypasta 2018. This piece was found on the 1st and 7th of February of 2023 and was found by file-saving archivist of moving image things, Jane Sjobernaar. A self-induced hallucination is a 2018 documentary film directed and edited by Jane Sjobernaar. The film is made up of found YouTube videos in which different people talk about the fictional character called Slender Man. The film was released for free on Vimeo on June 19th of 2018 by the account The Eye Slicer, and was a Vimeo staff pick. The film was later removed from Vimeo for unknown reasons. Jane Sjobernaar later directed, wrote, and edited the film We're All Going to the World's Fair in 2021, which received a wide release. As to the availability, there may be no plans to put the movie on video-on-demand services, as Jane has said, "I have no desire to profit from it or to commodify it in a traditional sense. It feels too personal to me to do that." The film was screened at BAM, Brooklyn Academy of Music, on April 10th of 2022, where Sjobernaar did a Q&A. Now, on February 1st of 2023, file-saving archivist of Moving Image Things uploaded the whole documentary to the Internet Archive, including its 3 video resolutions that came from an archive download link of the film, rendering the entire documentary found. A few days later, on February 7th of 2023, after learning about their documentary resurfacing, the documentarian, Sjobernaar, stated on their Twitter account that the latter used archived was not the final cut of the film. Sjobernaar would later upload the finalized cut of the film on Vimeo, available to be watched, where you can still see it to this day. It feels like it wasn't that long ago when Slender Man just was in every portion of the internet. I mean, and to the point where I got pretty sick of it, to be perfectly honest, and I feel like a lot of other people did too. And then, of course, there were those tragic events where those kids attacked another kid because of their belief in Slender Man. So, you know, it's, I feel like that really caused the fanaticism of Slender Man's fan base to, you know, plummet, so to speak. But it's interesting that, this one, for me, I really think the interesting part about it is that there was nowhere for the film to be seen. Somebody uploaded it to the Internet Archive, and then, you know, this creator who knew people had been looking for the film, who had it all along, goes, "Oh, well, I'll upload the final cut." It's like, I don't know, sometimes it feels like these pieces which should be easy to obtain, but nobody is just, the people who have them just kind of aren't willing to put in the small amount of effort. Like, one of the biggest well-known lost media pieces that people are looking for, of course, being Slamfest 99, I guarantee you Nintendo has that somewhere. All it would take is for someone to go find it and upload it to the internet, and all would be hunky-dory. And I think they just don't want to bother. And I feel like that was the case here until somebody uploaded a film, it wasn't the final cut, and then the person goes, "Well, people have to see the final cut. They can't see this and think it's the final version." So it's like, well, why didn't you just upload it in the beginning? I don't know. That's why this one is interesting to me. At number 4, we have Billy and Mandy in Trepanation of the Skull and You, a found prototype short of the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy Cartoon Network animated series from 1995. This piece was found on the 30th of April 2016 and was found by Maxwell Adams. In 1995, while Maxwell Adams, aka Adam Burton, was still in college, he created a short film titled Billy and Mandy in Trepanation of the Skull and You, Oh, so the creator uploaded it. This short would go on to form the basis of Adams' hit Cartoon Network show, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. The character designs differ quite a bit from the end result. In the original pilot, Billy appears lankier and with a smaller nose than his final design, while Mandy has pigtails, a nose, which she lacks in the series, and a plain, single-color dress. In the short, Billy learns about trepanation, a process in which a hole is drilled into the skull to relieve internal pressure. After seeing that Mandy, who incorrectly describes the process as a way to unlock the brain's full potential, has already got trepanned, Billy then has Mandy trepanate him, which result in Billy losing copious amounts of blood before passing out. Adams describes it as being completely inappropriate for Cartoon Network, but felt that the characters were too funny to use only once, which led to the development of the series. In need of a straight man character, it was eventually decided to add the Grim Reaper as the third protagonist. For the longest period of time, it was believed that the short utilized the visual style of a piece of concept art for an unrelated and unmade pilot for the show, seen here. The actual short is stylized after monochrome films of the 1920s and 30s, and featured only Billy and Mandy, the latter of whom appears significantly different than this image. Adams would later clarify the issue on his official YouTube upload of the short. In Adams' 23 Rebel Taxi interview with Pan Pizza, of that fellow in the coat.com and partner of channel Frederator, he mentioned the short in some detail, revealing that he had it stored away on film, noting that he should have had it digitally transferred at some point. As to its rediscovery, on Rebel Taxi's podcast on March 15th of 2016, it was announced that Maxwell Adams recently found the old short and would display it at the Troma Animation Festival in New York. I don't know exactly how it's supposed to be pronounced. A day after the short premiered at the Troma Animation Film Festival, Maxwell Adams uploaded the short to his YouTube channel in higher quality. There is noticeable deterioration of the film, though it is still in a watchable state. Adams has clarified that he is unable to reshoot the short and sync it with its audio track, as he was forced to throw out his assets for the short to conserve space when he was living in a studio apartment. I am personally a big fan of Billy and Mandy, and the one thing I do like about this one is that unlike in the previous entry where the creator had this the whole time and just wasn't willing to upload it anywhere, Maxwell Adams, he just didn't know where it was. He knew he still had it, but he also admitted, yeah, I really should have digitized this way earlier, but even though it was in kind of a degraded state, he did what he could to salvage it and did upload it. And I think that just speaks to having pride in your art and wanting to show it to people and wanting to show it to the people who want to see it, rather than this whole, oh, it's just too personal, I don't think I can upload it. So be more like Maxwell Adams. Artists, please upload your shit. At number 5, we have 120 Days of Sodom, a found novel by the Marquis de Sade from 1785. So this novel, 120 Days of Sodom, is a 1785 novel written by Donatien Alphonse François, the Marquis de Sade. It was written in secrecy during de Sade's time imprisoned in the Bastille in France, and was taken right before the revolutionaries stormed the Bastille. He believed it to be lost, but it was secretly taken and owned by different people over time until its eventual publication in 1904. Due to its disturbing and sadistic sexual content, including primarily the exploitation of children, it has been banned in several countries and is widely considered to be the most impure tale ever written. The term sadism is derived from the name of Marquis de Sade, in part because of this book. The book was originally written on a scroll of paper made of glued together scraps smuggled into the Bastille. The scroll was 12 meters long, and the Marquis de Sade hid it in his cell wall in the Bastille. Now, on July 4th of 1789, he was transferred to another prison and was unable to take the scroll with him. 2 days prior to the storming of the Bastille by French revolutionaries, a citizen named Arnaud de Saint-Maximin took the manuscript. It is unknown where he took it, but it was eventually discovered by the sexologist Iwan Bloch, who published the book in 1904 under the pseudonym Eugene Durin. This one I find interesting because from what little I've read of the Marquis de Sade, just about him, not of it, and I've not actually read any of his works, but the guy had some pretty unusual sexual appetites, and his works often express those and even worse than what he was known to have done. We have this idea that back in the day, everybody was very prim and proper, and if you weren't, you hid that away, or you were sent to a mental institution because you were such a deviant. And yes, the Marquis was sent to he even died in a mental institution. He was imprisoned in the Bastille for sexual crimes. But it just goes to show you that every era had its perverts. The old ways, they were no more prim and proper than we were. The idea that everybody in the past was very polite and sexually repressed is a wishful thinking of conservatives and puritanicals who wish for in their words, better time. But everybody since the dawn of man have just been filthy, filthy perverts. And nobody displays that better, probably, than the Marquis de Sade. And that is it for part 6, and that is the end of our New Year's Eve lesser-known Lost Media Marathon. I just want to thank all of you so much for all the support you have given me over this past year. Who knew when I made a simple lesser-known Lost Media video all those months ago that it would cause this channel to blow up? Each and every one of you are responsible for this channel's continued success and growth, and from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you all. There will be plenty of videos coming next year, and I will see you then. Until then, everyone, thank you so much. Alpha, great day, and an even beta tomorrow, and Happy New Year.